Well, welcome to everyone. My name is Chris Chu, and I am a coach and a facilitator. And this evening, I have the privilege of inviting Peter Demarest for this interview on axiology of value science. So Peter is president and the founder of Axiogenics, and they are the leading pioneers in this field of neuro-axiology and the applications for personal talent, leadership, and organization development. So I think what they do is they train and they certify coaches and practitioners around the world on the use of neuro-axiology. So the topic again today is about the value science or axiology, and further on from there we will talk a bit about neuro-axiology and the applications as well. All right, so Peter, thank you very much for agreeing to this interview. So I'll start off first with about this thing called value science, because not a lot of people may have heard of it. So my first question would be, you've been a practitioner of value science or axiology for many years now. So can you tell us what value science is?
Sure. You know, when you think of the term value science, it sounds a little bit like an oxymoron. How can there be science to something that is so subjective like value and values, right?
Mm.
Well, if you look up the word axiology, Axiology, on Google or do a search on it, you'll find that it has existed as a philosophy for over 2,500 years, going back to Plato and Socrates and Aristotle, who, you know, as philosophers, they were wondering what's the meaning of life? Why do we do what we do? What makes us different as human beings? And one of the things that they concluded was that we're different because we value things differently. Uh, and that we see the world through the lenses of how and what we value. So some people will value money more than love or power, more than productivity, right? Just as a few examples, but there is an infinite number of ways that we can actually think about and judge value and in the things that we value. So axiology as a philosophy has been around for about 2,500 years. And like a philosophy, you know, it's open to debate, right? And discussion and subjectivity. Well, in the mid 1900s, a Dr. Robert Hartman, a fascinating man, someday I believe he's going to be seen in history on par with the likes of Galileo and Einstein and Isaac Newton and the Wright brothers, if you will, from aerodynamics, and some of the great scientists of the past who helped us to understand our natural world, who helped us to understand, um, the mechanics, if you will, of the things that we think of as science. In fact, every science started as a philosophy. And to this day, if you get a degree at a university anywhere in the world and you get what's called a PhD in science, whether it's medicine or mathematics or ecology, geology, pick a science, that PhD actually stands for a doctorate of philosophy.
Mm.
Philosophy and science are very closely meshed together. What differentiates the two is that there is a scientific methodology, like mathematics, and the way that the uh, scientific methodology is applied to the theses that come out of, and theories that come out of philosophy, and then we research it through science. So in the mid 1900s, Dr. Robert Hartman, who had 3 PhDs, or JD and 2 PhDs, is considered the father of formal scientific axiology,
Mm.
and where he applied mathematics and scientific methodology to the study of value and goodness, taking it out of the realm of pure philosophy and into the realm of a natural science. And what axiology gives us access to is an understanding of how, objectively understanding how value, goodness, quality of life is created and destroyed. You see, the thing that's really cool about science, science doesn't care what you believe personally. Science doesn't care whether you believe that gravity exists or not. You are still subjected to gravity, right? And the laws of physics. Well, turns out value science gives us clarity about what actually creates value. And it's only to the degree that our own thinking is aligned with what we now can understand about what creates value that we will actually create value. And by value, what I'm referencing is goodness, is quality of life, it's performance, it is the unleashing of creativity and innovation to rise above the challenges that we have, to cure, if you will, the ills that we have as a society, and to move into the future in a way that really works for all of humanity. Um, and it doesn't matter, we've got differences of opinion from one politics to another politics, or a different religion to another religion, or non-religion as it may be. But ultimately, the science teaches us
Mm.
that unless we are operating consistent with what science reveals as to how things work, we will fail to reach our full potential.
Okay. All right, Peter. So if I may try and paraphrase or just simplify it in one or two sentences, can I say that axiology is like the science of the value science, or axiology is the study of how we value things, from what you said, and also it gives us clarity about what will create value. Um, would you say that
Yeah.
that is a good description?
And the simplest, I think, particularly when, and we'll talk about a little bit later, the neuro-axiology, is that axiology, there's two things of profound importance that it gives us. One is an understanding of how value is actually created, the objective understanding of what's called the hierarchy of value, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Mhm.
But the other thing is the ability to measure how an individual person actually thinks.
Mm.
And we're able to identify where is that person's thinking, that subjective thinking, aligned with the objective reality. Where is their clarity in understanding the dynamics of value, of what has value, what doesn't have value, relative to other
Mm.
things. And it's a marriage of those two things that is really the game changer that
Okay.
neuroaxiology brings to the table.